Thank you all for, for taking, time out. I imagine that, pre-festival, it's pretty busy. Clinton, I know that obviously you've got House of Dragon, which is, press, which has been keeping you, more than a little busy, I imagine. So, thank you all for taking time out. It's very much appreciated.
No, thank you. It's great
Yeah.
to chat.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you.
And obviously, we are here to talk about Touchdown, which is screening at Fright Fest. It's part of the First Blood strand, which is I always think the First Blood strand's really interesting because it's finding sort of like new takes on genre cinema. How are you feeling about the selection and screening at the big 25th anniversary?
I think it's exciting. I mean, it's great for us. It's sort of, it's a really nice launch place for us, actually, I think, because it's the first festival that we're doing and being part of the First Blood strand. I think it's a pretty kind of perfect kickoff point for us. It's lovely that it's London, where we, sort of were largely kind of based whilst filming remotely all over the world. FrightFest is obviously its own kind of juggernaut, so it's really nice to be a part of that. And for the First Blood thing, it's great. I mean, it's really nice sort of looking through the other films there and sort of seeing what people are doing. And like you say, just it can be quite stale in the industry with kind of same old faces, same old voices. So it's really nice sort of seeing what's emerging.
It's a question for everybody. During lockdown, the film industry, it completely shut down, like a lot of the parts of the world. What prompted you all to, continue being creative? Because I guess, for a lot of people, that creativity was just lost along with the industry.
Yeah, it's
Joe,
funny. Oh, go on. Yeah, actually.
yeah, you go, you go.
No, I was just saying it's funny you should say that because like I remember all productions were shutting down as well, and I remember not too long before I came on board this project. I was working on a TV show and that completely shut down. So I was in this kind of limbo space, and then Joe just picked me out and saved me from this oblivion and nothingness, and was like, "Do you want to come and shoot this really cool project with Gerry?" And I was like, "Of course, thank you." So yeah, it was a really lucky time for me, and I was very grateful that Joe sort of felt that I was right for the role and literally picked me out of just complete boredom and oblivion. So yeah.
I'm with Clinton. It was, as you say, really challenging times, and Joe and I had been lined up, had a slate in LA to go and shoot a horror film. Then the pandemic arrived, and it was just like, there's no way you're going to be able to travel. There's no way, this is not going to be a happening thing. And she said, well, we're not going to be traveling. I'm going to write a movie, and we're going to make it here. Do this during the pandemic, or find something to do. And she was true to her word. She absolutely knuckled down, got a script produced within the month, and went about making it. Found Clinton, got a cast together. So, proper kudos to Joe. It was a very difficult thing to achieve,
Yeah.
but she actually, timed it perfectly.
Well, it's good, isn't it? Because I think it was such a difficult time for everyone that literally the world shutting down and such a demoralizing time. And I think it's hard to remember actually that certainly I felt, we were going into that and none of us knew how long is this going to go on, what's going to happen. And as we've all now seen and experienced, that you interrupt the process of the film industry and the repercussions are huge. It's not like people are just delaying for a short period of time. And yeah, my feeling at the time was just, I always think, you kind of work with what's happening. So if this is going to happen, then let's embrace it and let's try and make something happen. And B, it was like, well, now is the time. If we're going to do anything different in life, now's the time to give it a go and see what happens. So, and it was just amazing that Clinton and Gerry and everyone else was up for it, because it wasn't easy, but I think it was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to Joe's genius as well, because shooting something like this of this scale and magnitude in that particular time, I remember speaking to her on the phone. I was like, is this even possible? Like, how are you going to do this? And she just knew exactly how to put everything together. And and there's so many moving pieces, and it takes a real leader and a real genius to sort of put all the pieces together and have them just kind of going, simultaneously without everything falling apart. And especially during the pandemic, everything that could possibly go wrong would have gone wrong if we didn't have someone at the helm who knew exactly what they were doing. So without Joe, none of this would be possible. yeah, things did, but it quickly got back to put together. So yeah.
Yeah, that kind of leads me on nicely to my next question. A lot of the other productions that were created in lockdown, they kept themselves, fairly insular and local. I'm sort of obviously thinking, primarily of like Rob Savage's Host, that was just within the apartments of the cast, all within London and I think maybe Nottingham. This one, traverses the globe. One, why was it important for you to encompass several countries, in terms of the story? And what challenges did this, present? Because when I was watching it, I was like, was this film during the lockdowns, or was it? It's like I feel like it is, but also it isn't. It's. I mean, my mind boggles at how you managed to achieve it.
It's really weird you say that, actually, because when I've kind of shown it to friends or whatever, a lot of them have sort of said, well, so you didn't shoot this during the lockdown, and it's just like, oh my god, because we genuinely, we shot it all during lockdown. And to your first point, and I think it may have been what I promised you, Gerry, in the first place, was that we'd do a really contained kind of single room, kind of film that would be easy to do. And then when I sat down, I just realized that that's just not me. If there's some great films in that. It's just my natural taste doesn't kind of lean towards that. And certainly all the other films I've been working on were kind of international. So I sort of, from that point, I sort of changed in my mind from the sensible route of what's our contained single room film that we can do, very quickly. I actually thought, well, actually, what's the most ambitious version of this micro lockdown film that we can do? And that is, shooting all over the world. And the challenges are infinite for that. It was a lot of it was kissing a lot of frogs, because you've got to find the people it's scouring the internet, looking at people's work, getting in touch with people. I mean, I think we shot the first bit in LA, and that was a line producer I've been working with there, put me in touch with the local camera, and then Gerry and I directed, and Gerry did all the DPing via Zoom. So that was I think that was quite a good sort of way in, wasn't it, Gerry? Because it
was quite challenging, because it was, of course, why not do this at sunset? Why not? And we want to transition into night. All those sort of things are a given, but doing it by WhatsApp and Zoom adds a dimension to it, another challenge. But what was really interesting is that the way the things shifted. So during the pandemic, went from like, you could send a remote camera to somebody to you can have a micro crew or a bubble, and this production kind of followed that trajectory, and we kept in line with all those sorts of requirements, and it actually made us a really tight, efficient unit. As a result, we had the same group of people, really tight. We didn't go outside of our bubble. We kind of bonded really well, and it made for a great film. And I think that is reflected in the other countries around the world which was shot in as well.
Yeah, and I think that it's a strength to the film, because there are so many of those films that were made during that time that almost feel a little dated now, because that was definitely a pandemic film. Like I said, this one was, I feel like there's no way that they shot, there's no way that this film had the budget to close down, Piccadilly Circus to get this, empty shot. Like that was clearly footage, from the pandemic, but then because the story is so global, it's that it doesn't feel that it was made in that era. So I think, you guys have done, some really great work, particularly on that scale of ensuring longevity.
Yeah, and weirdly, the kind of themes of the film of, the rise of autocracy and the vulnerability of individuals and that isolation, and, where do we all sit in relationship to each other kind of structurally in society. Any concerns I had that kind of COVID ending, and then, like you said, that it would sit in that space, have just vanished, because like the world is kind of spiraling right now. So, you know, that's not a good thing. But for the film, it's been quite fortunate because actually it's just felt, certainly for me, it's felt more and more kind of resonant what it's about in terms of everything that's happening in the world right now. And it was never a COVID film. It's never been about COVID. It's never been, we've just used that. So I think we've been quite lucky in that respect. It's at where it sits now. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't feel like a COVID film.
No, like I say, I just like the London shots, like they must have, but then the rest of it, it could have been, could have been filmed last week. It could have been filmed, a few years from now, sort of thing. But yes, talking of those central London, camp, excuse me, the shots within central London, they feel really eerie to watch. I'm in and out of London a lot. I know how many people are normally there. What was it like, filming that footage during that time? Because it just, like I say, it just production value, it's already, instantly there for you guys.
That's so true. There were so many opportunities that were given to us. I mean, just walking into London at that time, I'd go in early mornings to just get some background material, and there'd be me and some foxes on Wardour Street, and nothing else. You could look both directions and not a single soul there. And that experience was similar for the crew. And we did night shoots there, and it was eerie. It's not like it was shut down for snow. There was just nobody there. It was really quite a different experience of what it's like to be in London. And I think it's also true of some of the other locations, Cape Town and places like that. They were having a similar experience. Those places were empty, and that's never the case. So visually super stimulating. All the boarded up windows, art direction. Here you are. It's all done for you. You walk down this street. Look this way. It looks great. Look this way. It looks great. Okay, we don't have to sort of clear things and do stuff that you normally do on a movie set. It was fabulous.
Especially as an actor, you go onto different sets, on different projects, and they all are a part of your imagination in building that world. But the fact that this was actually London and it was empty, and it just lended, for me personally, you didn't have to act as much because everywhere was just sort of empty, and it created this sort of aura which lended to the performance as well. I didn't have to use my imagination too much because the set of central London was, the best sort of setting you could ever ask for. And I couldn't believe it because even as Clinton, not even as Jamie, as Clinton, I couldn't believe when we were walking through just the streets of London and it was completely empty and you're seeing all these places and it didn't look real. It almost looked, because I never thought I'd ever see any of these, locations completely empty and desolate. And it just added to the film in such a beautiful way. And I think we just caught it at a beautiful time. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
I think you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice there, though, Clinton, because one of the things that I was worried about was that, we're shooting, the world is empty, but obviously in post, we then put in a lot of VFX and sound because we have this military presence there. And, I was a bit concerned at the time because I was asking a huge amount of Clinton to be on his own, in the middle of Piccadilly or whatever and reacting. And then we got to the edit and I was just so grateful because like all the little movements we needed to put in sound, to put in VFX, to put in gunshots, whatever it was, they were all there. I think by saying, I think you're doing yourself a disservice there in terms of what you did imagine and bring to it within that space. But it was certainly a weird world. And then there was one particular time when we were shooting, if you remember, Clinton, when we were on Old Compton Street and this van full of policemen came. And we all
it was so cool and scary, but very cool.
But it was great. They were just bored, stupid. So for them, having this bunch of people out there filming was great. They were just stopping for a chat. So it was slightly surreal.
Nice.
I remember they did ask us about the car parked on the pavement that we were using to light the scene. My car up with its boot open and the lights flashing. It's like, is that your car? Yes, that's our car. Okay, fine, no problem.
Nice. And I think I'm right in saying that there's only, I think, like 2 scenes in the film where there was more than one actor present. Clinton, how did you, as an actor, find, that process of, kind of being on your own for a lot of the time? Because I think so much of acting usually is, through that reacting to the person against you. How did you find sort of, just being on your own?
It's an interesting question because a lot of the time I wasn't technically on my own because I had Joe, directing me in how she wanted the film to go and how she wanted each specific, arc of each scene to play out. And just with the director and the sort of leadership of Joe, I always felt safe and felt trusted. I never felt like I was sort of completely just vulnerable and open in terms of not knowing what I was doing or knowing where the character was going. And yeah, I tech Jamie was alone, but Clinton, the actor, was never alone because I was always, I always had the help of Joe, and I just felt really safe and really trusted. So it just made everything so comfortable, and I had a great time working on it. Yeah.
I think all of you guys were because that was my chief concern right from the start, was this is either going to work or it's really not, because a lot of it they're sort of talking to each other, but with Clinton we had sort of dialogue coming in through earpieces, but all of them with Kai, with Cresta, with Lily and Will, it's the same thing. I think the performances they all pulled off from not having the benefit of someone to bounce off. It was extraordinary. I was incredibly grateful and very, very impressed, excuse me, that they managed to sort of break any kind of sense of people not performing together. And I think I certainly feel that it's kind of worked in the edit of that feeling of them bouncing off each other.
And I guess in a way, Clinton, having to imagine the things, around you in central London and, working on your own, did that help you, when it came to learning how to ride a dragon?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It's so funny. You'll just have to wait and see the movie. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there's a lot of sort of similarities in terms of how the character progresses through the story. That's all. I'll be as vague as that, but a lot of what using my imagination in this, because it doesn't get much bigger than aliens in central London, and the story takes place all over the world, so you're having to have the sort of vivid clear images of these objects all over the place. And it really lended in itself for me personally when I came on to House of the Dragon, because all of that is a crazy big world, and I'm like, cool, I'm just coming from a crazy big world in central London. It just happens to now be in Westeros, so it definitely helped me 100%.
And as Fright Fest draws closer, tickets are on sale for Touchdown, but then the pass holders will get their chance to snag tickets. Why do you each hope that they take a chance and add Touchdown to their lineups?
Who's going to go first then?
I'll let Joe go first and I'll follow.
I mean, I hope. I mean, I think certainly for us, the ambition was there. I feel rightly or wrongly that in this country, certainly with kind of traditional funding, that we don't put enough into kind of commercially orientated genre films. And that's something that I personally feel incredibly passionate about. I think that we have the talent here and the ability to be making really kind of commercially led, interesting films with, the ambition being that it actually says something about the world as well, that that it's not just popcorn, that hopefully it kind of inspires thinking and sort of looking at the world today. So we made what I hope and feel is a film where the production values far exceed the actual cost, and I hope that it's a film that entertains and inspires and sort of shows that in this country we can be making those hopefully smart genre pieces. And we know that the Fright Fest crowd are an incredibly passionate, engaged, sort of cinephile audience. So I would be delighted for them to come and join us and hopefully enjoy the ride.
My view on it is that also there's so much there that is worth remembering. Seeing those places, seeing what it was like, just to take us back to that time. It's valuable there as well. It's that this is what people were experiencing in LA. This is what people were experiencing in Cape Town and Thailand. It's really worthwhile not forgetting. And I think this film also leans into that a bit as well. I mean, it's a great story woven into that fabric, and well worthy of having a look at.
Yeah, I feel like for film with such big themes, and it's such a large scale film, it takes place all over the world. It's very intimate. It's very, very intimate with the personal relationships taking place all over the world, which is, representing and reflecting what society is today. So I feel like a lot of people understand what it's like. Even as we're communicating right now through Zoom, a lot of relationships are taking place digitally, and people go through things and they have to experience it sometimes in isolation. Sometimes people are across the world, and I feel like it's a very intimate film, even though it's quite big in what it presents. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people will really resonate with, especially now in today's day where everything is almost digital, and people are always communicating through via their phones, WhatsApp, Zoom, etc., Skype or whatever. But it also lends itself to the fact that it's such a big film with big stakes. And I think the contrast of the intimacy and the scale is something that audiences, I don't think, have ever really seen before in this kind of way. And I'm really excited for them to explore this and dissect it and see what they think.
Well, yeah, thank you guys for your time and wish you the best of luck with the screening.
Thank you so much.